Hey everyone, and a massive welcome to an exciting new series here on InfoSec Live of the CISO Mentor with industry leader Ido Ganor, where we're going to learn how to onboard and generate a remarkable impression as a CISO that will help you shift your organization from operational security to strategic security. Can't even say the words. Gain valuable tools and insights from an experienced CISO with over 18 years in cybersecurity. Understand how to build your position in the company and what to do first, what not to do, and where to focus to make a good first impression. But before we begin, for those that are new to the channel, my name's Simon Lindstead. I'm the founder of the InfoSec Live community. And by sharing stories and best practice over the last few months, it's led to over 8,000 hours of our content being watched on YouTube by you, our amazing subscribers. So a huge thank you for your engagement. And if you'd like to support the wider InfoSec Live community, or indeed buy me a cheeky decaf coffee, we do have a few ways you can show your appreciation. First up, the ability to purchase super stickers in the YouTube chat if you'd like your question bumped up to the top, and 3 tiers of membership allowing you to show your support in any way that you can. But whether you join or not, being here and engaging with our content is what really matters. And as I said, today with Ido, we're going to focus on the first 30 days in a role as a CISO. So without more rambling from Simon, let's bring Ido on. Welcome.
Great to be here, Simon. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's my pleasure. We had a bit of a sticky moment in the studio before we started. My internet dropped out and then yours did. So fingers crossed, it's going to be seamless for the rest of the event today. Now, Ido, we met last year, wasn't it? InfoSec Europe.
Security, yes, indeed.
In London. And we've stayed in touch ever since. And I've seen the traction that CISOteria has gained over that time. And when you offered to come on and give some hints and tips and guidance to CISOs, I kind of snapped your hand off for that. So thank you to you for coming along and sharing some stories today. Do you want to give the audience a bit of background about yourself for those who haven't met you before?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So first, I'm honored to be with this audience and speak about CISOs and so forth. And actually, I studied mathematics, computer science more than 10 years ago, as you can estimate. And following that, I was working for Digital Equipment Corporation for many years. And then I relocated to New Jersey. I've been living in New Jersey for about 9 years. And when I relocated back to Israel, where I'm based, actually, I founded IPV Security Consulting Firm. IPV Consulting Firm has been for the last 18 years providing CISO services as well as consulting services, penetration tests, and so forth. And we actually were looking for a platform to build to help the CISO as CISOs, because we were acting as CISOs and following and helping about 30 companies. We didn't find any. That's when we decided to found a CISOteria. That's kind of in a nutshell where CISOteria comes from. So it comes from real CISOs with a real solution, a real problem, and a real solution.
Love that.
Now, but based on that, actually, that's what came up about we know how it is difficult to be a CISO. What's the difficulties for being CISOs, and that's part of why I actually offered to have this CISO Mentor series. In order, we have a lot of experience, myself and the team I'm heading here. So I'll be happy to share it with questions and anything with the audience and tell what we believe should be the approach to succeed in such a stressful job.
I really appreciate that. And for the viewers who are watching, we haven't got the chat up on the screen today because we're expecting a surprise appearance from Ido's new personal assistant, George. And if we had the chat up, it would make it a bit crowded. So I am watching the chat. If you have got any questions, please make sure you drop them in and I will come back to them when we get a moment. But Ido, the topic of today is the first 30 days in a CISO role. So let's kick off with that. You've been lucky enough to land the job. I'll hand over to you.
Okay, so actually let's start about the CISO job in general. And last September there was in the CNBC there was the quoted a survey from the executive search firm Heidrick and Struggles, which show stress and burnout are the top personal risk for CISOs. I'm reading it from what they said. There is another interesting information about that Gartner predicts nearly half of cybersecurity leaders, 50% of cybersecurity leaders will change jobs by 2025. 25% of cybersecurity leaders will pursue different roles entirely due to workplace stress. Stress. That's what CISO are feeling every day. So what we will find out why they are stressed and how we can reduce the stress and how they can do their job in a much better way and be less stressful and be with the family and spend some time which is not always in stress area. And that's the CISO is a really tough job to handle and to manage. And I think that the first 30 days are the most important starting point, because that's where you set the stage for the ongoing of your job in the next 3 years or 5 years or 2 years, or if it's based on Gartner, 1.5 years.
Well, I think the stats I saw, the pandemic hit and the length of tenure for a CISO increased a little bit, I think, because there wasn't much movement in the market. But before we go on, can I just ask you a quick question? If the average tenure of a CISO is between 2 to 3 years, surely that can't be right. Surely there must be a way where it can have longevity rather than moving from one role to another. What is the reason behind that, do you think?
I think that the stress is an important part of that, because it is a very demanding, and we will get to the first 30 days and what's the CISO role, but it's a very demanding job. You have a lot of responsibility, and actually you have responsibility, but in many cases you don't have authority. So you are responsible, you are accountable, but you don't have the authority, and it's kind of ridiculous. I think it's the only C-level position which is not C-level position.
Yeah, I mean we've seen the SEC in the US have offered guidance about making it a board level position. Do you think we'll see that filter down into different industries, or do you think it's going to continue to be a challenge?
I think it's a step by step. When we started off about 10 and a half years ago with the CISO service, there was no one offering CISO services. And actually we came to that by kind of in a weird way, because we were conducting audit services, and once after every half a year, after finishing a security survey and the risk audit, I was coming and calling the customer saying, hey, we gave you lots of findings and results, and we gave you recommendations, you should do that and that and that. Did you do all what we offered you? You've paid us money to do the risk survey. And the answer was no, we didn't do anything. So then one customer, actually, when I asked him that, he said, you know what, but why won't you bring me one of your people that will manage the process, not do it, but manage the process of fixing and mitigating all the problems and remediation. And I said, wow, it's a great idea, because now we are on a retainer basis. And So that's how we started the CISO. And that was 10 years ago, and there was no CISOs around. So I think it is moving fast. I think that the more the industry realize the importance of this job, I'll get to discuss about where and also how I think the CISO should position itself in the first 30 days and thereafter. And yes, I think that we should, I think that it's coming up, the CISO, sometime down the road, CISOs will be C-level.
Yeah, just we don't know when.
Right, but I think it's few years. It's around the corner.
Yeah. Well, that's positive. Okay, so today we're going to focus on the first 30 days. Just give an overview of what we're going to cover off on the next episodes after that, Ido.
Yeah, on the next episode, I would like to discuss how I called it learning the executive lingo, actually. And I think that in the next one, in about 2 weeks, and the time we'll announce the timing. But the idea really is to speak the executive language. I think executive language is a key element for CISOs to succeed and to position themselves and to become really C-level and not keep on technology level.
Yeah, agreed.
So that's, I think, what. So if we can, if you don't mind, let's just start about.
Sure.
You kind of got into your job, and your first day in the job, and it starts with a chaos. Everything is in chaos, and you just got your badge, your desk, you got your laptop, and before you are logged in.
Hold on, I think we've got a call coming through, Ido.
Okay.
Hey Ido, I just heard we have a new CISO. I'm George from our manufacturing department. One of our most critical machines is showing some weird message. Can you please come and see what's happened?
That's exactly it. Just to the point. So thank you, George. And I hope everyone gets the feeling. That's how you feel when you start a CISO job. You have actually right away, you are boom. You get on your face, you need to do that and that and that. And there is an emergency. And that's what's going on a regular basis. That's what the CISO does. And that's from day one. And one of the things that really show what does a CISO is really from day one, there's a lot of ad hoc activities and third-party inquiries. A lot. Part of your job is responding to this person and that person, so you have no time really to start planning, to start walking around. You immediately need to dig into answering questions, and you have no idea. You didn't even log it into your machine. So how can you assist anyone without knowing? You just know the name of the company, and maybe you know in general what they do. So that's about it.
I think Alana's point's a good one as well, that you have the whole team that's then looking to you for leadership for the moment you not even put your bag down on the floor in the organization. And as Dhruva says, anxiety intensifies.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly it. And that's it. That's the reality. That's the reality. And again, back to the statistics about stressful. How can't you be stressful if you are getting bombarded with requests every time? So the idea really is to put order in place. There is a chaos, and what you need to focus is there. And you need to focus on the processes and not on the technology. And I'll get to that later in our discussion. But that's the major elements that you need to focus on. And that's, again, our experience, how we can put order, how we can do our job. And in a few minutes, I'll get to discuss what is my job as a CISO. What am I responsible to do? How will I be able to measure whether I was successful in my job or not? Obviously, I will not be stressful. That's one good measurement. But from a company perspective, that's something that I would like to understand, how to do things, what to do first, and what not to do first. But before maybe getting to the details of what would I do, I think we should start off with setting some background or ground level. And we need some terminology, because there is a huge confusion in the industry about some terms. And I think these are very important, because if you are a CISO, you should use the right terms. So what do I mean by the right terms? When you speak about an asset, you refer to a business asset. You speak the executive language. You are a C-level. Speak the executive language. Business assets, intellectual property, personal identifiable information. Speak data. Speak what the management of the company is interested. Your server is not an asset. Your firewall is not an asset. These are technologies that help you actually, and they help you run the business, but these are not your assets. So first of all, let's speak assets. And from now on, when we refer to assets, let's not refer to technology elements or to technology entities or devices. Let's refer to the business assets. So that's number one. Then a threat, the difference between threats and risks. I've been speaking about this for many places, in many places around, but it's also a critical element. I've been hearing again and again that a specific vulnerability or ransom is a risk. No. A risk is business risk. Risk, you can measure two elements, you can measure it. Money and, God forbid, loss of life of people. Yeah. That's how you measure risk. Again, because you are on the executive level, you are not on the technical. Obviously, for the technical team, a vulnerability is a risk for a server. Right, for the server, it's a risk, but not for the company.
That's a good point.
So I think that in regards to that, we need to realize the threat and the risk. Ransom is a threat. Risk is the loss of $10 million, $100 million. That's what we are going to lose. That's our risk. Okay. Then I want to also discuss every company actually is built of people, processes, and technologies. And the whole industry is focused on technology. We are spending more and more. Now they are speaking about in 10 years to get to $25 trillion poured into technology and more security technology. And actually, the amazing thing is that instead of the breaches going down, they'll go up. And I heard yesterday you had a very interesting session with Greg. With Greg, which actually you refer to this. It's amazing. This whole industry is amazing because more and more money and no solution. Yeah. We are kind of keeping on putting more money. And that's why, because the focus is on technology. But the root cause of issues in technology are processes that are not being well implemented by people when they deploy technology. Again, it's not that technology is not important. The technology is critical. But how you deploy the technology? What's the process that you run and you have a procedure when you need to update your firewall? Do you have a clear process for that? Is this process followed? And again, you will hear me again throughout this session speaking a lot about the matter of focusing on processes. Once you clear a process and you make a process, a well process established, that's it. The chances to get vulnerabilities into this process are going to be close to zero.
Yeah. Oh, do you know what? I think we're going to be interrupted again. Hold on one sec. I'm really sorry to interrupt you on your first day on the job. I'm from the finance department and we've just got a suspicious email to transfer another email and we need your immediate help. Please can I send you what we've got? It's non-stop, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the case. Yes, that's the case. I hope we will not have too many in this in the rest of the time, right?
Just one more.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. And now you need to deal with manufacturing. Now, by the way, an important part for a CISO is to realize whenever you get an interrupt, you need an immediate ability to realize if this interruption is critical or not critical. Should you stop everything and deal with it or not? Is it a real issue or not? Because some of the interrupts are not that critical. You need to identify that. You need to be able to detect and immediately identify whether you need to give it high priority or not. Again, speaking about processes and technology, if you have good processes, then probably it's going to be less stressful for you, and probably you will reduce the number of interruptions.
I could also argue that one of the most important lessons to learn there is the lesson of the art of saying no, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. That's something that you need to realize, and you need also to say, I'll deal with it tomorrow or the day after or next week. That's fine. But again, if you have good processes, the chances for you to actually get interrupted are going to be reduced because processes will be real. The bad news is that establishing good processes, it's educating employees, educating the culture of the company. It's tough. It's not easy. But this is why the first 30 days on your job, you are actually putting the stage. You are actually setting the stage, actually. So that's what you should focus. Speaking more on the terminology, I would like also two more elements just to discuss. One, you've mentioned before, and I also have been about what's between operational security and strategic security.
Yeah.
And I'll explain how I view both operational security and strategic security. Everyone today, to me, or most of the companies, what they do is operational security. And what do I mean by operational security? Number one, they focus on technology and putting more and more technologies. That's number one. Number two, actually, it's from the management perspective, it's a technology issue. The CISO should deal with it. So we don't bother. CISO, here, you need money, take money. Although, again, we are pouring money, but CISO, you should worry about it. It's a technology matter. Fix it. And when you go to fix, you fix the symptoms. You do not fix the root cause. Why? Because take the firewall rule that I've been many cases been giving as an example. But if there's a problem in the firewall, a rule in the firewall, it opens your internal network to the whole world. When you fix this rule, you did not fix the root cause. You fix the symptom. The root cause is the process of updating the firewall. How this rule got into the firewall. Someone actually entered it. It did not come from the manufacturer, from Checkpoint. This rule was not there when you bought it. So that's exactly where you need, and that's operational security. And what's strategic security? Strategic security has few elements. First, it's not a technology matter, it's a process matter. You realize it's a process and you're fixing the processes. Secondly, it's not a CISO problem, it's a management problem. Management should take responsibility. The CISO is the person that is in charge by the management to deal with it. But it's a management responsibility, it's the CEO responsibility. And the CEO and the management of the company should realize that it's a concrete and important matter for the company, and it's not to throw on a CISO or on the CIO as a technology. Once this will be realized, these three elements, now we are speaking strategic, and now the chances to get interruptions and breaches are going to get lower. And how would you measure it? Which this is the next step in looking into this. You will measure it in actually three main elements which will define if the CISO did its job properly or not. Number one is the breach probability. Ponemon has recently published a research they've made about the ransomware breach probability last year. They were referring to about 66% for enterprise. 66% have been breached by a ransom. If I'm the CISO, my responsibility is to get this 66% and make it as close to zero as possible. I should make sure that in my organization we are close to zero. The second element is time to recover. If I'm not at zero, but I did get breached one way or the other, then the next thing for me is to make sure that the damage is minimal. And the second thing is to look how I reduce the market statistics of 20 days recovery time to 2, 3, 4 hours recovery time.
Can I ask a quick question? So with the conversation with Greg yesterday, we were talking about, hold on, my mind's gone blank. What were we talking about? No, I've gone. You carry on. I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. This is the age, you see. This is what happens when you nearly hit 50. Oh, I know what it was. It was about trade-offs. So in the early days, whilst obviously getting the processes all in place is the biggest job, having that the bounce back ability, do you have to trade off between getting the processes in place in the early days compared to being able to recover from those? So do you need to focus more on recoverability to start with while you're building out the processes, or is it something that you balance?
Actually, it's a very good point, because what I would do on the first day, it actually leads me very well to what I'll do in the first day. In the first day in my job, which I have no idea about the company, I have no idea almost what they have, what they don't have, who are the stakeholders. What I would look for is for the immediate response procedure.
Yeah.
Because I have no idea if in an hour from now we are not going to be breached, because I just came on board. So the first thing I would do, I would focus on the immediate response procedure, whether you have something like that or whether you don't. And if you don't, I will immediately do one. Why? Because I expect a breach next hour, in 2 hours, and I want to be ready for immediate response. So I will establish that in the first day or even few days. My first focus would be, before planning, before learning the company, before learning its asset, is let's see who is part of the immediate response team, who does what in case of emergency, in case we get breached, and what should we do in case we are being breached. Are we ready for that or not? And by that, and part of the immediate response team is looking at the backups. Do we have backups? Good backups? Are the backups that we have are what we call ransom protected backups or not? So that, to me,
Can you just elaborate on what that means for those who don't know?
yeah, there are some technologies today in the industry that are able, that you can put backups, which if you get ransom attack, if a ransom gets into your network, it will not get into your backup files. So what you should do is really have a backup system that is ransom protected. That there's
So
no way.
would it work if you had if you were using AWS? Would it then work to create a copy of what you've got on one AWS server and then put new passwords and credentials on it and keep that as your backup?
That's not enough. That's not
Okay.
enough, because you need certain technology that will help you. Yes, you need to have the backup, but it's not enough. By the way, just to let you know, there is a good example. There used to be a company in the States named CodeSpaces that provided some software services. And in 2014, this company was actually, they got a message that they are going to be hacked if they're not going to pay X amount of dollars, millions of dollars or whatever. They did not do anything with it. A day later, they got a distributed denial of service attack, and that was for a few hours. So all of their customers couldn't enter, get to use their service. And what happened after the attack has been finished? Customers went into logged into their accounts, and there was no data. Now that was all in AWS. Then they were supposed to have a backup, like we just said, on AWS on a different environment.
Yeah.
The backup environment was gone as well. This company, CodeSpaces, 12 hours from the start of the attack, they announced bankruptcy.
My word.
12 hours. You can just search for CodeSpaces, search on Google, you will find this company. So again, my point is really start with the emergency area. And then once you started with these elements, now let's start about looking into the defense layers and the other tanks and the business elements, because now in the next 4 weeks, what you want to do is you want actually to focus on getting the first impression in the company. And that's critical, because we all know first impression, last impression.
Yeah.
If you want to get your job done properly, you need to establish your personality, your position in the company from day one, and do it properly. If you will not do it properly in the first 30 days, you're probably losing the war. You may win a week, but you are losing the
And how do you go about setting that first impression?
Okay, so what you will do is, and I'll get, what you do week after week in order to get this first impression. So first of all, you understand your responsibility to make cybersecurity a non-issue and to reduce the numbers as we just referred to before, the statistics. Which, by the way, if you do that, it will help you become a business enabler on one end. It can become for the company a competitive advantage. So there are many things that this will draw out of your job if you are successful with it. So putting your position initially and making it success, and I'll get in a few minutes even to what specifically you will do week after week for the first 4 weeks, but you need to set yourself goals for the first 4 weeks, not for your whole term in the company. For the first 4 weeks, what are your goals? What do you want to achieve? Which ones you want to focus on besides kind of the ad hoc interruptions? But doing all of that, that will be, and leveraging as much as possible the day-to-day ad hoc activities towards whatever you can in order to put yourself in front of the management of the company.
It's funny you should say that, because I think we've got one more call coming through, Ido. Hold on one second.
Okay.
It's me again, Ido. I've just had a call from Gene from the CEO's office. Can you please immediately go to his office? Thank you. Hey, Ido.
Oh, wow.
I just heard we have a new CEO. I've just pressed it twice. I pressed it twice. He's so keen to interrupt. He came back on again.
But this one is a good interruption.
Yeah.
Because now you have an opportunity to walk to the CEO office, help the CEO, and get his attention. So now you should leverage this. So now this one is a good one. It's a good opportunity how you can really do that. And we'll get to what you should do and what you should speak with the CEO.
Would you argue that developing a relationship with his PA, Julie, could do you the world of good as well?
Yeah, no, I would not argue that.
Yeah.
Actually, it might be better than to get relationship with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely when you build a relationship, and again with other executives in the company, you position yourself as an executive and not as a technology. Now, it's not always easy because in many cases you will find yourself reporting to the CIO, and not everyone lets you speak with higher management. But step by step, you can actually get to this point. So let's kind of look at the first 4 weeks. Let's kind of take it week by week and see what. So as we discussed on the first week, we are setting goals for the all 4 weeks. One, before that, we first and foremost immediate response procedure. Who is responsible? So I know that by the end of the first or second day, I know that if something happens, everyone that is supposed to handle this is already on kind of, we've built already some relationship. We know that. So I'm ready for emergency. That's number one. Then what I would do is I need to understand who does what in the company. Who is responsible for the network, who is responsible for the public relations, who is responsible for the legal elements, who is responsible for the business assets. And for that, I need to map the business assets, I need to map the threats, I need to map the risks. All of these elements, I would try to focus on the first week to know who does what and who are the main drivers of the company. Watch the critical processes for this company, for my company, to really succeed in the company role, in what we are trying to achieve. Whether we are a manufacturing company or whether you are e-commerce, never mind what type or what industry we are, there is a business reason for us, for the company. So I'm focusing on the business and I try to understand that. From that point of, I've been in the second week, I will put very clear measures for my goals, and they should be quantifiable, and they should be qualified and quantified. So I should be able to put measures that I can really, at the end of 6 months, 1 year, I can really look at myself and look at the mirror and say, here, we succeeded or we did not succeed in 1, 2, or 3. Now, part of these goals, obviously, they are related to technology. But again, I would focus more on the processes. So, for example, I would focus not only what type of firewall do we need to have, but what's the process to deploy the firewall, and what's the process to audit the person that deploys the firewall. So if I would build a process where I have an operator on one end and an auditor on the other end, for every technology, piece of technology we have in the company, then we are able really to watch that the processes are well deployed. I would just say that's exactly what we've built and why we've built CISOteria, exactly to help in measuring and doing some sort of a health check for the processes. So you are able to look at the processes and define what works, what doesn't work, and if there is a flaw in the process, fix it. It's critical, at least as a technology vulnerability, and the processes are critical. On the third week, I would actually start assigning tasks. So I would start looking at I've learned the company. I know what's the business assets. I understand what the technologies we have, what technologies we don't have, where are our vulnerabilities, where are our flaws on the processes, and what's required to build them. And on the third week, I will start assigning tasks to different teams. And again, this task, I will refer, and you'll hear me again and again. Focus on assigning tasks which relates to processes. So assign tasks on people that will follow processes on one end, and on the other end, auditors. Now, obviously, to assign tasks is good enough, but you need to educate, because changing habits for the person in charge for the firewall or for the NAC, it's tough. He or she are already used to work one way. And to tell them, hey, no, from now on, you are going to follow a clear process. That's tough. It's not easy. It takes time. So you need to and you don't want to get...
People hate change, Ido.
Right, exactly. And you don't want to get resistance. You want to get their buy-in. So you need to convince them. You need to explain them. You need to show them that it will help them. It will make their life easier. Because by doing that and by following this process, their life will be easier, because they themselves will be less interrupted of urgency incidents, because the process is being followed properly. So again, it's a day-to-day. It's a hard work. It's a legwork between every person, educating and explaining why we should change the processes, why we should focus on the processes. Now, in order to get that, we talked about strategic security. So in strategic security, it's the processes, but it's also the management, because you cannot change processes if management is not behind you. If the management does not support you, you will not be able. There is no chance for you to change any habits and of people if management does not realize that this should be happen. So this is why you want to get the buy-in of the management. Management should be part of the process. You should first lay down, and actually in the fourth week, what I would do, I would immediately, by the way, on the first days on the job, I would schedule a management meeting for the end of the 4 weeks, for the end of the month, saying, I would like to show the management, here's my plan. 4 weeks from my entering the job and getting George to bother me. That's what I would like to see. So and on the fourth week, I will focus on getting management on board, showing the management the process and the plans, and the plan should show the defense layers, the technology, the processes that we deploy, the business processes that we should focus, and the plan should take it step by step towards us building process after process. Now it's not an overnight matter. It's not something you will a month later will see everything done. No, it's a long and tough process. I can share with you with companies that we've been working with. In some cases it took us few years until we got a company what we call to a security culture where we started with chaos. So it takes time. You need to be patient. You need to be persistent, and you need to get the management behind you, and also make sure that the management is being involved. Products like CISOteria helps you do that because it helps you close the gap with the people that are day-to-day managing their day-to-day activities on one end. On the other end, it helps you to quantify the business risk and measure it and watch it 24/7. So if you are able to watch the risk 24/7 and management is involved, engaged, also the security teams are also engaged. So that's kind of do you want, by the way, I'm seeing lots of messages coming in. Any questions or anything you would like me to address, or anyone?
I can't see any questions. I know there's a bit of delay between you and I at the moment, so I think you're hearing me speak a few seconds or maybe 1 second after I've spoken. So the only thing I would say, we didn't plan this and we didn't discuss this before we came on today, but are you able to show how the CISOteria platform helps create those processes, or are we not prepared for that today?
No, I am able. CISOteria, I have it always ready. But yes. So 1 second, let me just.
I just think it'd be good. We've got 10, 15 minutes left, and it'd be nice to tie it all together with how the platform can help a CISO on those first few weeks in the role.
Absolutely, I can do that. Here, let me see.
At least people can tell this wasn't planned. Look, here we go.
Yeah.
There we
go. Okay. Yeah. You see the platform. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what you see here actually is CISOteria is built out of three main elements. It has three main modules. One module is security operations, which is in a way it's project and task management. And you can see here, you can have here the SecOps module, which includes project, task, recurring activities. So this is the place where everyone reports, you run all your project, but you also get recommendations from the system, because this system, as I mentioned, it has been built by CISOs. So we have a lot of tasks and audit tasks recommended that are built into the system. You just need to assign them to your personnel. So for example, you have here different types of projects, and for each project, you can click on a project and you get to see all of the tasks of the project. And again, it's a project management and task management model, but it's focused on security and has some insights related to security. So you can see here every task that you have and so forth. If you want to see the tasks, so you can just click on the tasks, and every person gets his own task, and they can manage the task and do whatever they wish. It is important that you see on the left-hand side, you see these signs. What they actually indicate is the type of task. This one, for example, it's a recurring audit activity. It's a process of auditing. Again, as I mentioned, it's mandatory to have audit tasks and operational tasks. Yeah. So this one is a recurring audit activity. This one is not an audit. This is an operational task. So it's just a recurring activity. And we have regular tasks and so forth, and we have built-in. Part of the built-in of the security operations, by the way, we have what we call playbooks. We have built-in playbooks that, for example, let me show you how it works. So, and we've discussed about what to do in the first day in regards to immediate response team. So in CISOteria, what you have is you have here a pre-built-in playbooks for immediate response. And what you will see is, let me show you one playbook, for example. So you see we have different playbooks for different threat scenarios, not risk scenarios, threat scenarios. And in case of a ransom, for example, we have a pre-built list of tasks. It can be for the public relation person, for the network guy, for the infrastructure person. Anyone in the company can get a task here. You assign the task, And in case of emergency, you just click on the active now, and immediately once you click on the active now, all of the people that has tasks that are getting an SMS and an email saying, run, do your job, we are under attack, we are under a threat. So that's the SecOps area. Then we have here the governance, which relates to the policies. We have here all the products, the security products in infrastructure, and in regards to the security products, you can see the percentage of implementation of each product. Now, how do we know? How do we measure the percentage of implementation per each product? We actually look at operational tasks and audit tasks. The combination of these two provides us the health level of the product. So, for example, if I click here on the Okta, you can see that the Okta, it's a product that we deploy, and we have here, you see different tasks. We have 11 tasks marked as done, 3 tasks not, and we should just complete these tasks. Now, how does the product quantify your risk? And that's the risk management model of the product. What you see here, this is the important number on the screen, 6312. And how is this being calculated? Because we have the inherent risk, then we have the proactivity level of the company, which these are the defense layers that you have built. And each defense layer, your defense layer level is 17, 20, 26. So what you see here is we have here the business assets of the company, which resides on data centers. And per each data center, we can see the status of the defense layers, of the products, of the procedure. Are they followed? This is exactly the health check of the products and the procedures. So now you can see, and if I'll click in, again, we don't have much time, but once you click here on each product, you get to see its task. And once Steve reports, I just finished installing patches, or I just finished training the employees in branch in Singapore, immediately it implies the change of the company status and the related business assets. They are automatically being changed. And this is how we track your risk, your business risk. We track it 24/7.
Okay, what about from an oversight governance point of view? I hate this terminology, so don't hate me for saying it, but you hear it a lot in the industry, that single pane of glass view. Let's use that awful statement and relate that to, can you get a snapshot of tasks that are outstanding, what bits are prioritized, etc.?
Yes. We are actually we are a bit changing the top of the dashboard to provide exactly what you just mentioned. But bear in mind that every person that logs does not see necessarily all of these pictures. This is for the CISO and the executive team. The person that logs in sees just their own tasks, just their own responsibilities. So in regards to that, yes, what CISOteria does, by the way, we used to call CISOteria a pane of glass, but we also didn't like it.
I genuinely didn't know that, so no offense, I hope.
Yeah, so now you know that we were, for some time, we were kind of calling it this way. But because really, now you get a full picture of where you stand from a business perspective.
Yeah.
And by the way, we are able to give you a report out of this that gets into a PowerPoint, and you just go and share it with your management, the exact status of the company.
That's brilliant. I love that. You've got quite a few comments in the chat there, Ido. Your CyberSec, good to see you, Lee. Very impressive software. Stephen Dix asked where he can get a demo from, so I hope you don't mind. I've dropped a link to your website with the demo page, and I've also put your LinkedIn profile link in the chat as well, just in case anyone wants to reach out. Is there any other features you'd like to show us? We've still got about 5 minutes left, Ido.
Yeah, we do have here the governance. Actually, I will show you. We have here, like we follow the security products, we follow the procedures. By the way, with procedures, it's even more robust. Why do I say it's more robust? Because in 95% of the companies I've been working with, procedures are getting dust on the shelf. That's about it. So they are good for shelves and maybe for some, I don't know, whatever gets on whatever loves dust. That's what's going on. But now with CISOteria, once you build your defense layers, and your defense layers includes procedures, once you have these procedures, now you have tasks, and if a procedure is not being followed by an operator and an auditor, then immediately it reflects on the company risk status. So from now on, procedures must be followed. If they are not followed, the executive management will see that this number will go up, the risk of the company will go up, and they will immediately ask, why did it go up? And now with procedure, that's done. We are also having a model. I'll show you here actually the GDPR. It's a GDPR model locally for us here, but the other ones are going in this specifically regulation. You can see the exact status of the specific regulation. Again, this one is an IL privacy, but you can see here the exact, it requires you to get, you see the whole picture, the dashboard specifically for your compliance with the specific regulation. And in this specific regulation, every data pool or any database for like PII, you need to assign it a certain element, and then you can see all the general information about, and here you see the law. You can actually read the law itself. You see section 8 of the law. You click on the details. You get to see the gap analysis. You get to see the tasks related to that. If you want to see the law itself, you just click here and you get the law in front of you. So you are able to see exactly your compliance every minute, whether you are following it, you are not following it. Everything is done. You can see all the tasks that you need to complete in order to be fully compliant. So it's all done. Again, the idea really, we kind of, in a nutshell, instead of calling pane of glass, we call it ERP or CRM for security.
Yeah. So for someone like myself who worked with governance, oversight and control functions in a regulated industry in financial services, how powerful is this platform for financial services businesses when it comes to reporting? It must be really powerful.
You are asking the convinced, you know.
Yeah, well, I know, obviously. So talk to me about the traction you've got with clients. Is there a particular type of client you've seen more success with this platform, or is it across the board?
Yeah, I would say mid-sized companies are more the ones that enjoy this the most.
Yeah.
And I'm referring to it can be 500 or 300 people up to 5,000. We do have one customer with 10,000 employees, but usually that's around the verge. The highest companies, don't misunderstand. Any company needs something like that, whether you are, because now you understand that once you are able to watch all the tasks, again, like Salesforce does for CRM.
Yeah.
When you use Salesforce, then the example is that if a sales administrator in Singapore just signed 2 deals and sent 3 quotes, then 5 minutes later, VP of sales in San Francisco gets into a board meeting and has the whole picture of the company and can share with it. So the day-to-day activities are connected to the executive management. That's what CISOteria does. But again, our initial focus is in the mid-size companies.
Okay, now no one ever likes to ask this question, but looking at it from a finance officer point of view, one of the problems that some CISOs seem to have when trying to get budget is that there isn't a fixed cost attributed to whatever it is they're putting across. How does the pricing work for this? And is it something where you know what your costs are going to be moving forward?
Yeah, it is a SaaS. It's a SaaS. It's a SaaS service, and we provide it as a SaaS.
Yeah.
And we do that, so again, it depends on which modules you use, how many users, the size of the company. So there are different types of licensing related.
But there's a definitive. You can work out a definitive cost based on company size, headcount, assets.
Yes, absolutely. Which modules you want, which modules you use, and exactly like that. By the way, you can use. We have here a feature which is a very nice feature, which is outside users that you want to assign them tasks. So you can assign out of CISOteria tasks to people that are not even logging into CISOteria. We call it non-user. This non-user can get a task via email. They get a link. They get a password on their mobile phone, and they click on this link, they get to a page on the CISOteria General website, a specific page which has been dedicated just for this person's tasks. They have a password from their mobile. They just fill in the password. Now they can fill in, I finished and completed my task. That's it. And that it can be sent to third parties. You can send it to anyone you wish.
That's amazing. That's really powerful, isn't it?
Indeed, yes. People like it very much. Actually, it came out of customers asking for that. So
yeah, well, there we go. I mean, it shows that you're listening to your customers. Ido, how long has this platform been out now?
It has been for 6 months. We've started, actually, CISOteria was founded in 2018. For 4 years, we've been in development. For the last 6 months, we've been starting selling the product. It's a patent. We did receive patents, by the way, in the US, Europe, Japan, and Israel.
Oh, well done.
So it's a patented platform, and anyone that is interested, we are always happy to have a demonstration.
Brilliant. Well, look, I think we're just about out of time. We've crammed in so much to this first episode, and I know let me take that off the screen for a second. And I know from all the feedback that we've had in the chat that everyone's extremely impressed. So I think what I will say is I was blown away by this last year when we first met, simply from my past experience and my past jobs point of view, where I had that governance and reporting function, how difficult it was to collate all the information and keep on top of policies and procedures in financial services, never mind cybersecurity. So that's one reason why Ido and I have stayed in touch. I'm really looking forward to meeting you this year when you come over to London for InfoSec, and hopefully get some people in for some demos at that point as well. But let's wrap things up. So any final words before we announce the next one, which I'll do that now. The next one's going to be on Tuesday the 21st, was it?
It's Tuesday the 21st, yes.
Tuesday the 21st at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. GMT. And on that one, we're going to be covering, just remind us what we're covering, Ido.
Executive lingo, executive language, how to speak with the executives, what to share with the executives, and what not to share with the executive. I think that's a critical element that you need to be able to actually work with and tell the executives what they want to hear, and not discuss with them things that they don't care about.
Yeah, again, it's like you said at the start, it's the terminology that's so important, business assets, not assets, making sure you're using the right words, because a lot of the terminology sounds the same, but it certainly isn't when you start digging in and looking a little bit deeper. So Ido, thank you so much for your time. Everyone in the chat, a massive thank you for coming in and contributing and asking questions today. If you're interested, I'm back in 3 hours for another live stream with William Taft to talk about confidential conversations. We're even going to talk about how we used to communicate in the olden days when I was younger, when we used to have to go to a phone box, and how safe our data was there compared to how safe it is now using things like Teams and Zooms every day with no real knowledge as to where our data goes or what happens to it. So looking forward to that one. But tune in again for Ido and I for the CISO Mentor. Tuesday, the 21st of March is the next episode, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. GMT. I've dropped Ido's LinkedIn links in the comments in the chat if you want to connect with him. And I've also put in the comments a link through to get a demo of this amazing platform. So Ido, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate the time. I appreciate the opportunity, and looking forward for the next episode. And send questions. Just ask questions. I'm ready. We have a lot of experience, and not even without CISOteria, we have experience.
Really appreciate that. It's really fun. Thank you very much, everyone. See you soon. Take care.
Take care. Bye.